So in this class, we're going to talk about constructors in Java. So we already know methods and we work with methods also. So this is constructor is something similar to method. So we can say it's a special type of method and that is used to initialize the object. Okay. So when you are creating a new object, okay, so the first one will be invoked is constructor in the class. So Java constructor is invoked at the time of object creation. As I said, it can be used to provide values for the object. That is why it is known as constructor. So if you want to say in simple words, we can say that it is used to assign some of the values to the object. Okay, some of the values is nothing but some of the values to the instance variables. Okay, if you want to initialize some of the instance variables in a class, through you can initialize it through constructor. So rules of constructor. Okay, so first one is constructor name must be same as its class name, and constructor must have no explicit return type. And there is one more rule: constructor should have the same access modifier as class. Okay, so let's talk about once again. So constructor is a special method in Java, and it is used to initialize the instance variables at the time of object creation. Second thing, and there are some rules in the constructor. One is constructor should be same as its class name, and it shouldn't have any explicit return type. Okay, even if it is not returning anything also, we should not mention void. It should not have any explicit return type, and it should have the same access modifier as class. Okay, so, and there are two types of constructor. One is a default constructor, and the other one is parameterized constructor. Default constructor is nothing but no argument constructor. We don't pass any arguments to that constructor. And parameterized constructor is some constructor which accepts the parameters. So is known as parameterized constructor. Let's define a small constructor. We'll see. So as I said, a constructor that have no parameter is known as default constructor. Default constructor provides the default value to the object like 0, null, etc. depending on the type. Yeah, yeah, everyone can be mute, please. To mute it. Okay. So as I said, a constructor that doesn't have any parameter is known as default constructor. And default constructor provides the default values to the object like 0, null, etc. If it is an integer instance variable, it will be having a 0. If it is a boolean instance variable, it will be having a boolean value. Okay, so before the Eclipse opens, let me write a class like this: class a car. Okay, and one of the instance variable a car can have is, for example, engine number. Okay, and as I said, constructor will be looks like this. Okay, so it has the same name as class name. Okay, if you try to give like this, okay, class is having a car with capital C, and this particular thing is having a car with normal C, no capital. Okay, so both are different, and it will be considered as a method, and compiler will ask you to return the type. Okay, so make sure it is same as it is same with the class name. And and the difference between method and constructor is that constructor doesn't return anything, even void also it will not return. Okay, and the purpose of constructor is to initialize the instance variables of a object at the time of object creation. Okay, this one thing. So it will be looks like this if it is a default constructor, and if it is a parameterized constructor, it will be looks like this: car int number, engine number, or whatever it could be. Okay, int number. And as I said, it is to initialize the instance variable. So in the constructor, what you do is, in the constructor what we can do is engine number equal to number. Okay, and so at the time of object creation, okay, I'm not writing the complete main method. Okay, hope you guys know the syntax of main method. Car c equal to new car c dot engine number. Okay, so we can pass something like this here. Okay, if you guys having any question, please raise your hand. Please ask me. Okay, so I will stop the class and I will explain to you. Okay, now you can see. So when I create an object for the car, first the constructor which is having the parameter. Okay, so this one will be invoked, and engine number will be, so this number will be having 1 2 3 4 5, and this number will be assigned to the engine number, that is engine number will be having 1 2 3 4 5. And if you can print, right, if you can print system dot out dot print ln, and you just print c dot engine number, you will be printed with 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, so that is the use of constructor. Okay, so at the time, otherwise if there is no constructor like this, okay, if there is no constructor like this, so what you have to do? Okay, so a car will be a object, you know. So object is, in anything which we see in reality, we can call it as a object. So we see a car, that is an object. And can anybody see a car without the engine number? Can anybody see a car without the color, at least a white, or at least some color will be there, right? Can anybody see a car without escalator or brake, something like that? Okay, so whenever you create an object, whenever you whenever you manufacture a object, okay, or a car, it has to have some certain properties by default, right? So a car will be comes to the market with some color, steering and basic stuff, right? Okay, at the same time, whenever you create an object, you make sure that it is having, or it is initialized with basic stuff. Okay, so otherwise there is no use of creating an object. So keeping in that mind, Java has introduced these constructors, and these constructors are used to initialize the instance variables. Okay, so there are a few things you need to remember. First thing is, constructors are used to initialize the instance variables. Constructor is same as, no, constructor is similar to the method, but there are few differences. Constructor doesn't return any type, any value, and constructor name should be same as the class name, and constructor access modifier should be same as the class access modifier. You can see here. Okay, fine. Okay, but okay, so this is how it looks. So hope you guys are noting down these points. Okay, so this is one thing. And this is one thing. And one more thing you need to remember or you need to note down is that if you don't create any constructor, for example, please watch it carefully. If you do not create any constructor, okay, so the Java compiler will be creating a default constructor for you. So what does it mean, default constructor? Default constructor is nothing but a constructor without any argument. Okay, that's fine, well and good. Now can anybody tell me what happens now? I am doing car c equal to new car and I'm passing an argument 1 2 3 4 5. Now, so what happens at this statement? So will compiler will pass, or you can message me, or you can speak out, you can do anything and give me the answer. Somebody, Swati. Yeah.
Sudhir, can you ask the question again?
Yeah, what happens to at this moment? Okay.
Okay, so the constructor basically when we have passed the default constructor, so the comment 1 2 3 4 5 it will
Mm-hmm.
store to the particular integer c,
Mm-hmm.
c dot engine number. So the particular engine number will assign to the c, and whenever we print it c dot engine number, then it will give the value of 1 2 3 4 5. So that's the use of basically constructor.
That's fine. Can you see this one, car c equal to new car? Can you see my desktop?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what happens this at this moment? Can you read this? No, can you watch out this entire class? Okay, and car is equal to new car, and I'm passing 1 2 3 4 5. Now what happens? We'll just what is the output now? Okay, Arna said that 0 will be printed. So what do you say? Okay, as I said, constructor is also is similar to the method. Okay, so does anybody see any constructor which is which is eligible to take this number 1 2 3 4 5? Okay, there is no constructor which can take this number. Okay, so earlier we have this constructor. Okay, so in my previous code we have this constructor, and this particular constructor is used to take this 1 2 3 4 5 number here, and that is used to assign engine number. Now what happens? Now we don't have a constructor who can handle this one, okay, so it will be failed, the compilation error will come. So any questions here? It has to be understand. Any questions here? Without which I will not proceed, because it's very important. Okay, now you can see. Okay, when I call this, when I at the time of object creation, I said one more point. At the time of object creation, constructor will be called. Okay, so when I'm doing object creation, so new car 1 2 3 4 5. So which is the one which constructor will match us to, you know which constructor can handle this 1 2 3 4 5 number. Okay, so this is the constructor will handle. Now let's do one more step to understand more. String color. Okay, Now tell me what is the output. Just a second. Okay. Now tell me what is the output. So in the very beginning class, I also mentioned that each object will be having its own data. Okay. Now tell me what is the output for this one. So what happens in this at this moment? So which constructor will be called? Is somebody? Yeah, Swati. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, it will print like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, C2
First the
dot
integer
one
number.
two. Okay, one second, one second. Let me change this number.
Okay.
Okay, now you can tell me.
4, 5, 6 will print first,
Okay,
and then um, the color, the C1 data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blue.
okay. So C2 is engine number, that is 456. Okay,
Mhm.
C1 dot color is just a color, right? Anything else I'm printing?
No,
That is blue. Am I right?
blue.
Yeah, okay. Now tell me, so at this moment, what happened? Which constructor? There are two constructor. So what are the constructor? One constructor which is taking the integer number, another constructor which is taking the integer number, string color. Now at this moment, so I was highlighted here. At this moment, in the first statement, which constructor will be invoked?
The color one,
Integer number, string color.
string color.
This is the one. Are you right? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so it's a very simple. Okay, see, so this is a integer, agree, and this is a string. Okay, which is a constructor has here there are two parameters. Okay, so first thing, which is a constructor has two parameters, and this is the constructor. Just go ahead, that's it. Okay, let's take, and another step is, okay, which is a constructor having two parameters, that is first validation, and which is the constructor which is taking the number and blue in a order. Okay, this is the one taking the number, and this is the one which is taking color. Now let me define like this. We should be very much familiar with this. Okay, now take this one, string color int number. Okay, fine. Now if you can see here, if you can see here, so when I say new car, it is having two parameters. So which is the constructor having two parameters? These both the constructors having the two parameters. Now in these two constructor, the first one is having only one. Just eliminate that one. Okay, because it is taking only one parameter, but I am passing two parameters. Okay, so first validation is that which is the constructor taking two parameters. So these are the two constructors which are taking two parameters, that is first validation. Now second validation is, so which is the constructor taking integer number first and blue as second, and this is the constructor taking the integer number as first and blue no string as a second argument. And if you see here, so it is taking the color as first argument. Okay, now let's tell me, now now you guys are understand, I hope. Now tell me, now tell me what is output. Can I make it smaller so that Yes, now tell me the output. What is printed here and what is, sorry, what
It's
is,
456 blue and red. 456 blue, red.
anybody has any answer? If anybody has any other answer, I'll be verifying it. Right. Okay. Right. Now tell me at this moment which constructor will be called.
String color and ink number.
The reason?
Because it says the string color will come first and ink number will come next.
Exactly. So how many constructors are having with two parameters?
2.
Two. Okay. And which is the constructor, is taking the string first and integer second. So this is the constructor, right? As you said, it's correct. Okay. So that's good. That's great. Okay. Let's do some more examples and okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm creating a car c equal to new car, and this is very important. Okay. And you know people has to answer this one. Now tell me what is the output c dot engine number. What is the output c dot engine number? So with which we will be completing the constructor. Can anybody tell? Nishil, can you tell?
Sudhir, I think it will give the null value because we haven't passed any value to the new car particularly.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Thanks for the input. Let's let's tell me some points and this and then you can decide and tell me what is the output. If no constructor is there in a class, if there is no constructor there in a class, compiler will create a default constructor. That is first point. Everyone please note down. If there is no constructor there in a class, compiler will create a constructor for you. But here, okay, thanks Nishil. People are giving the answer in chat also. Thanks. Okay. So if there is no constructor defined in the class, the Java compiler will create a default constructor for you. But in case there are constructors are created, so Java compiler will not create any default constructor. Okay. So that is the second point. Now, which is the constructor which is matching this one? Which is matching this one? So all constructor are taking some arguments. Is there any constructor which is not taking any argument? Is there any default constructor? This is nothing but no, we are not passing any arguments. It's a no argument. Okay. So is there any no argument constructor or no, no argument constructor is also called as default constructor. Now tell me your answer. And I also said if there is no constructor created, then only if there is no constructor in the class, then only Java compiler will create a default constructor for you. But in our case, we already have three constructor. Will Java compiler create a constructor for you? First of all, will Java compiler create a default constructor for you? It's a question.
No, Sudhir, it will
Okay.
not create any default
Okay.
constructor.
The reason is
We have already three constructor right here,
okay.
which are
Okay.
passing the values.
Yeah. If there is no constructor, then only the Java compiler will create a constructor for you. If there is any constructor, the Java compiler will not create a default constructor for you. Now tell me what happened here. What is going to happen here? Which constructor will be invoked here? In this case, pardon? So as I said, constructors are invoked at the time of object creation. So a constructor has to be invoked at the time of object creation. Okay. If there is no constructor in the class, a default constructor will be created by the Java compiler and that will be invoked. But in our case, we have three constructors and Java compiler does not going to create default constructor or no argument constructor. And now tell me, Swati, you there? Can you tell me what happens here?
No idea, sir. I think it will take the first one.
But it is a argument constructor, right? It is having a argument, but you are not passing any argument.
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so you need to remember when you are, when you guys are confused. Okay, so you also think about compilation error. Okay,
Okay.
so now you can, I just given a hint also. Now tell me what happens.
So it will not print anything. It will show an error.
Okay, it first of all, it will, the Java compiler will not let you allow compiling this class. Okay, it will show a compilation error saying there is no constructor who can, you know I can invoke. There is no constructor I can invoke. Okay, so let's create the same class and show you the error. Okay, so all these things, which will be very important at the time of, interview, or at the time of when you are doing a Java certification. Okay, so anybody has plans to do Java certification, which are very important. What is this? A car. Okay, can I? Okay, let's go with the car only. What is the main? Let's create a main method. So type main, do control space. So as and when I get some shortcut, I'll be letting you know. Everybody keep their notes, just next to you whenever I say some shortcuts, whenever I say some important points. So you people please note down. Otherwise, for every small thing, you cannot watch the video, right? Okay, so that is the reason I recommend you to keep the notebook with you. Now everybody please watch it carefully. What is here? What is mentioned here? The constructor car is undefined. Okay, and it is a compilation error. You can see here. What is the error? The constructor car is undefined. Okay, so now the same thing will work if I remove all these things. If I remove all these constructor, the same thing will work. The reason? Anybody says the reason? Anybody? Victoria, Aruna, Swati, Nichit.
Actually, we have already removed all the constructors. The Java compiler will create its own constructor, that's no value constructor, and it will go ahead with the null value.
Exactly. Okay. So what is the default value for engine number? What is the default value for integer variable? Hmm? What is the default value for integer variable? Is nothing but you guys are not repeating my classes. Is nothing but you guys are not reading my material. Okay. So default values for integer, okay, is 0. Default values for, so each data type will be having its own default value. Integer, long, short, byte will be having the default value as 0, and boolean will be having the default value as false, and character will be having a some unsigned character, and string will be having a empty string or null value. Okay, so let's print this one. Okay, yeah, Yeah, you can be. Everyone can be on mute. Okay. Okay, you can see 0. So that's about constructor. I'm going to the next topic. Anybody has any questions?